Good morning, everyone. Uh, let's do today limits of exponential functions, graphical and analytical connections. So today is exponential functions. Before we start, please make sure you subscribe my channel and leave a comment below that I subscribed. I will reply to your comment personally. Thank you so much, and let's start. Okay, the first graph, consider the four exponential functions graphed below. Find the indicated limits for each function based on the graph. So we are looking for limits based on this graph. The first one is limit x approaches negative infinity, f of x equal what? So this is my graph exponential, and I am going negative infinity. So this is my negative x-axis. You know that's negative infinity right there on this side. So if the graph is going negative infinity, where my y value is going, and you can tell for this graph it's going in this direction. The arrow means it's continuously going in this direction, so it's going to which y values? Positive infinity. So I'm going positive infinity. This one, x approaches positive infinity, so this is my positive infinity side, the x positive infinity, this one. So if the graph is going in this direction right there, so what is the y value? You know it's not going to cross this horizontal asymptote, which is at -2. Do you see this? This is -1, that's -2. So it's going to get to the -2, but it's not really going to cross it. So this is -2. And you, if you pay attention here, -2, that's a horizontal asymptote most of the time. Let's see this. X approaches negative infinity of f of x. So this is my negative infinity right there, and the graph is going in this direction right there. So where I'm going -2, which is a horizontal asymptote. It's touching it, not crossing it. If my graph is going the x-axis, that's a positive infinity. If my graph is going in this direction, what is the y value? I'm going in here and the y is going up here. It means I'm going positive infinity because the graph for the y value is continuously going in this direction. So that's a positive infinity. Okay, let's try these ones. Limit x approaches negative infinity f of x. So this is again my negative infinity. If the graph is going in this direction for x-axis, then what is the y value? I'm going in this direction. The y values are going downward, which is negative infinity, because these are negative y values and the graph is going in this direction, so it's negative infinity. It's not stopping. The arrow means it's going forever. Limit x approaches positive infinity, which means I'm going in this direction, and that's a positive infinity. And you know the graph is not going to cross this horizontal asymptote, which is at -1. And do you see this? This is -1 horizontal asymptote. It's just something you can notice. Limit x approaches negative infinity for this one, and check out this horizontal asymptote. That's right there. Okay, limit x approaches negative infinity. So this is my graph. My x-axis negative infinity is in this direction. When the graph is going in here, it's going to touch the horizontal asymptote, but it's not going to cross this horizontal asymptote. So that would be +2. Up here, limit x approaches positive infinity. This is my positive infinity. And when the graph is going towards positive infinity for x-axis, the y value is going towards negative infinity. Okay. Now, in order to determine a limit as x approaches negative infinity or positive for exponential function, you have to determine what the graph will look like. Based on what we have seen above, what are 3 possible results of such a limit for an exponential function? Okay, in all these 4 examples, I saw that the graph is approaching negative infinity, right? I saw that. It's approaching positive infinity. I saw that. And also I saw a horizontal asymptote. These are the few things that I noticed in the graph above. You guys can tell right there. You see that? Okay. So by studying the graph above, remind yourself 4 rules determining if the function will be a growth or decay. Growth or decay. So this is very important. I am going to write down the rules. Please make sure that you memorize it, or maybe try to understand it really good, so you do not have any issues by finding limits of infinity for any exponential function, if in case you don't have a function and it's just a graph. Okay, so let's see this. The rules, these are really important. Okay, so the first one is growth. The first one is growth. We get the growth if b is greater than 1 and 0 or 2 reflections. Okay, what is this b? B is this number, that one. Like we have a function y equal bx. B is a real number. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about, b. In here, that's all transformation that we're talking about, but the original graph or the original function should be 2/3 to the power x, probably -1, -2, but not any of the reflections. Okay, so this b is this number, that's b. Okay, then we have another growth. If b is less than 1 or greater than 0 and 1 reflection. Then we have third decay, and I will be doing this with the example so you will understand it better. B is greater than 1 and 1 reflection. You know, these reflection switch like, I don't know if you can remember that. B is less than 1, greater than 0, and 0 or 2 reflections. Okay, we're going to apply all these 4 rules on these the graph that we are going to do right now. Okay, so how do I draw a graph? Determine the limits of each of the following exponential functions. So this is an exponential function. I can, you know, this is limit approaches infinity, infinity, infinity. So I'm going to graph all these 6 exponential functions because they are approaching infinity, and we'll see what the limit is going to be when we approach infinity. Okay, let's try. The first one is, I'm going to draw this one. The first one is, I have, you know, this is -2, that's a horizontal asymptote. Okay, so I'm going to write that this is horizontal asymptote, the -2, sorry. This is my b. Okay, the one we were talking about up here, b. Okay, reflections. Now, do you see this negative sign with the exponent right there? This negative, no, I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about this negative with the x. So this means I'm going to write it down here. This means this is a reflection across y-axis. Okay, if you have anything up here, that's a reflection across x-axis. But right now we don't have that. So it's just this. So since you can tell 2/3 means 0.666, which means it's less than, the b is less than 1 or greater than 0. So I can consider either number 2 or number 4. But this is reflection across y-axis, right? Reflection across y-axis, and this is my 1 reflection, right? So I said 2 and 4. So if it's 1 reflection, it's supposed to be growth, because decay is 0 or 2 reflections. So this one is growth, which is number 2. I'm just going to write this so you know this is what I did, number 2. So how do I draw this graph? I'm going to My horizontal asymptote is -2, so it's going to be -2 right there. That's my horizontal asymptote. Now, I already said that's a growth, and when we do reflection across x-axis, this is not x-axis, this is y-axis, this question, but I'm just telling you, if we do consider reflection across x-axis, we are considering this horizontal asymptote as x-axis to reflect here and there, not this x-axis, the horizontal one, okay? So this one, how do I graph that? Since it's a growth and -2 is a horizontal asymptote, and I know this is my reflection across y-axis. Okay, before I do all this reflection, the original graph, I'm gonna write down up here, probably right there. Okay, if b is greater than 1, your graph most of the time, the original one, is gonna go like this, like a growth. Like these are all positive tangent lines you can draw there, right? You can pick a point, you draw a tangent line, and it's a positive slope. Draw a tangent line, and it's a tangent line is the line when it touches the graph once. That's a tangent line. So like this is a point, and I pick this, and that's a tangent line. So these are all positive slopes, all of them. If I have b less than 1 or greater than 0, it's going to be going decay, which means it's going to go negative slopes. If you pick a point, tangent, draw, it's a negative slope. So just consider that, okay? So the original graph that we have for this without this reflection thing, okay, without this. And since I'm doing, it's going to go, since it's less than 1 and greater than 0, so it should look like that. It's a negative slopes. That's the original graph. But if I do reflection across y-axis, you know it's going to go growth. Okay, so let me draw the original one first. That's the original one. Okay, I'm not on scale. Please make sure that you understand I'm not on scale. So this is my original one. So if I'm doing y-axis reflection, you know it's going to flip over here. So the y-axis reflection is going to be in different color, and this one is going to go like this. So this is actually my graph, okay? Limit x approaches infinity for this function. What is the limit for this? If I'm approaching positive infinity, my answer is going to be positive infinity, and you can tell from the graph. Are you guys with me on this, right? That's green one is the original one. This one, this color is the real graph for that. Okay, let's try this one. In this case, if you guys pay attention again, 0.4, this is b less than or greater than 0. So either I'm going to pick 2 and 4. But I have only one reflection, which means it's a growth. Okay, you see it's one reflection, and this reflection is across x-axis. So let's draw a picture, a graph. Horizontal asymptote is at -4, which I'm going to draw right there. Now, the original graph, since this is again less than, greater than 0 and less than 1, it's going to go supposed to look like that for number 2, right? It's supposed to look like this. So I'm just going to draw a graph, and it's not on scale actually. That's my original. How my another one should look like. Since they said x-axis, one reflection, and it's supposed to be a growth, and x-axis reflection. So you're gonna flip this down there under this. Remember I said you consider this as an x-axis when you do the reflection. So this one is gonna go like that. Okay, and you can tell this is positive slope, positive slope, positive slope. So it means it's a growth. And this is number 2G. Okay, and when I'm approaching negative infinity right there, what is my answer? It's negative infinity. My y values are also going negative infinity. Okay, let's try question number 3. Question number 3 said, this is my reflection across x-axis, that my reflection across y-axis. These are 2 reflections. 2/3 is actually 2/3 is also greater. 2/3 is less or less than 1 and greater than 0. So again, my options are 2 and 4. Do you see 2 and 4? But I have 2 reflections this time, so my graph's supposed to look like a decay. Okay, so number 4. So let's draw the graph. I'm going to draw a graph right there. And plus 3, 1, 2, 3. That's my horizontal asymptote right there. Now the original graph is supposed to look like for this, since this is my greater or less than 1 and greater than 0, the graph is supposed to look like this, right? The original one. So my original graph for number 3 is going to go like this. Okay. Now, how my other graph is going to look. Now, other graph, you have 2 reflections there, okay? So I'm going to do y-axis reflection always goes first. Y-axis reflection goes first, okay? Then we're going to do x-axis reflection. So y-axis reflection supposed to be going in this direction. Like I flip it and the reflection is right there. You see that? That's my y-axis reflection. I'm just going to write REF for reflection. Okay. Now I have to do the x-axis reflection. And we already know this is a decay. Decay was number 4D, right? Number 4D. That was decay. 4 decay. So this is number 4 decay. So when I'm flipping this across the x-axis and I'm considering this horizontal asymptote as an x-axis, so when I flip this and make a mirror across that, for that one, you know it's a decay. So it's supposed to look like that, right? And it is a decay. You can move this down there, whatever, however you want. This is a decay. It's negative, 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 negative slope. So that's my final answer. If I'm approaching positive infinity, where my y value going? This is positive infinity. My y value is going towards positive infinity. So the answer is positive infinity. Okay, let's go to question number 4. Question number 4 is, in question number 4, I have 2 reflections again, and the 2 is greater than, B is greater than 1. So my choices are number 1 and number 3. How many reflections I have? I have 2 reflections. So if I have 2 reflections, it means it's a growth and it's the first one. Okay, so I'm just gonna write, draw a graph first, and it's plus 2, right? 1, 2, and that's my horizontal asymptote. Since this is greater than my original graph for this one is going to look like that, right? Because this B is greater than 1, and the greater than 1 graph is supposed to look like that. So I'm going like this. Now I'm reflecting across y-axis first. When I'm going y-axis reflection, then it's supposed to look like this. Okay, this is my y-axis reflection. Okay, now I have to do the x-axis reflection, and I already know that's this one is number 4, that one is growth, right? Number 1 growth, 1G, 1 growth. So it's gonna go and flip across this x-axis, and I have to make a positive, you see, like positive, 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 positive. So that's how this is gonna go for number 4. So if I'm approaching positive infinity, where my y value going? Plus 2. So this is 2. Question number 5, I'm approaching again negative infinity, E. Okay, if you guys plug in E in the calculator, it will give me the value, I think, it's going to give me 2 point something, 2.7 something. I don't remember the whole thing, but it's 2.7, which means B is greater than 1. So if B is greater than 1, then my answer is 1 and 3. Like my options are 1 and 3. How many reflections? We have only 1 reflection, which is right there, my y-axis. So 1 reflection, and b greater than 1, so it's a decay, number 3. Okay, so this is 3D, which is a 3 decay. Now let's draw a graph for this, and we try right there. You know the green was with the original ones, okay? Plus 2, 1, 2, and my horizontal asymptote go right there. So since it's greater than 1, my original graph is supposed to go like this. Now I'm reflecting across y-axis. If I'm reflecting across y-axis, it's supposed to go like that. This one was kind of simple, one reflection. And you know it's a decay. It's going negative slope, negative, negative, negative right there. So if I'm approaching negative infinity, x is approaching. So where is my y going? Y is going positive infinity. Do you see the graph is going in this direction? Let's try that one, number 6. If you check, number 6 is less than 1 and 1 reflection. Less than 1 and 1 reflection, less than 1 reflection, which is a growth, number 2. Okay, so this is number 2 in growth. So I'm gonna draw, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is negative 4. Okay, this one I drew this not okay. So I'm gonna go negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is negative 4 and right there. So since it's less, originally my graph's supposed to go like that. Now I'm going to do the reflection across x-axis, and I know it's a growth. So it's supposed to go over here, and it's supposed to go growth. Positive, 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 positive. Everywhere tangent lines are positive. And this is my answer for that. Limit x approaches positive infinity. If I'm going positive infinity, my answer is negative 4. So that's how you figure it out, your answer. If your limit approaches infinity and you have exponential function, then pay attention how many reflections there. Y reflection goes first, then we do x-axis reflection. And memorize this so it will make it easier for you to do, because it's a time test AP calculus, so you can do it good. Okay, let's try these questions, the one we have up here. And since these are not approaching any infinity, like these are all real values, both of them, so I'm just gonna plug in, because that's what the first step is for limits. We plug in the number. Okay, so I'm gonna plug in. If I don't get it plug in, if I get 0 over 0, I need more work. If I get number over 0, I'm gonna pick arbitrarily close from the left and from the right, since they didn't mention any left and right, so I have to give them left and right. So but let's do the first step first. Plug in e 2 minus 3. For every x I plug in 3 plus 2. This is going to give me e negative 1 plus 2. Right? Now I can change that to 1 over e, because negative exponent is not acceptable, and that's 2. Now what else I can do here? You know, if one term is fraction, another one is not fraction, then you make sure you find least common denominator and solve this. This is very important. Every time one term fraction, one is not, you just make this as a fraction and find least common denominator. That would be 1 plus 2e, right? So this is your answer for this. I'm not using a calculator. If you want to, or if the question is asking for the calculator, then you can just plug this into the calculator and you will get some decimal answer, but 3 decimal places, remember that. Okay, let's try that one. This one is talking about negative 2. So I'm going to plug in negative 2. Half negative 2 minus 3 plus 3. So I have to solve this. It's going to give me half positive 2 minus 3 plus 3 again. It's going to give me again half negative 1 plus 3. Since this is negative, I can do 1 over 1/2, but when we do reciprocal, it's going to give me 2. 2 plus 3, which is 5. Right? You know, it's this is going to reciprocate. I would like to do this because probably some of you guys don't remember. This is a half negative 1, right? So if negative exponent is not acceptable, then I'm going to do 1 over. Since I have 2 division, you're going to change this division into multiplication, and you do reciprocal. So 2 times 1 is 2. So that's the answer. Okay, that's how you do this portion of the question if you don't understand what I just did. So 2 plus 3 is 5. That's my answer. Guys, if you have any questions, please comment below. I will help you with more examples and everything. So just make sure that you work these out. Again, you don't understand all of this, you have to practice. Okay, so any questions, comment below, like my lessons and subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.